Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am Letty and in today's video I will take you along my process of drafting and sewing a somewhat vintage inspired dress. Typically I wear shirt dresses. I love them very much, so everything that is more buttoned down, either with a button placket or completely buttoned down to the hemline. Typically also with collars, with collar stands, so very, I would say, formal looking shirt dresses if you button them up. And I thought it would be nice to, first of all, try something new in terms of styling, but also I have a ton of images on Pinterest that are different kind of dresses that I never tried to sew up. And I thought it's a good opportunity to get one of the vintage inspired images, or better to say, I think I had two that I really liked, and I tried to pick and choose the elements from the images that I saw and liked and applied them to a pattern mashup, let's say, that I basically drafted myself. So one element that I really liked in the patterns and the dresses that I saw was these more round necklines without collars, but sometimes they had a little bow to tie a knot in front and a slit. I found they look very elegant with that slit front. Some of them, I think, or at least the one that I saw, it's not a very clear picture, and I don't know if it had a front seam where the slit basically is, or if it was a one panel pattern piece. So this is one thing I really liked. Another thing, I tried to find different images when it comes to the sleeve, but most of the dresses that I found had grown-on sleeve. So I'm not a huge fan of these kind of sleeves because sometimes they are very restricting. Or if you don't want to have a very deep armhole, I found that they are then restricting. Otherwise, you can't really put a zipper in if your armhole goes down too low, I found, because usually then it's an oversized dress. And I wanted to have a dress that is more, not completely fitted to tight fitting in that sense, but something that is just hugging basically your neck, not your neck, your body, your figure. So these things I really liked, and one of the images also had, I think, a split front panel, or I think it was front, maybe also the back, where you have an upper part with the bust area, and then the, I think, midriff section. It was very fitted, and it was basically two panels, and then the skirt was attached. So these were my inspiration images, and one thing I really liked is all of the images that I had in mind and pictures that I saw had not a lot of pattern pieces, unless this two panel thing, but not that you have like grown on sleeves with a raglan seam or anything like that, because the print that I choose to use, or better to say the fabric that I bought, is very, it's a very busy print, I would say. So last time I went to Belgrade in, I think it was April or May, or beginning of May, I went to one of the very cool and fancy fabric shops that I found there. And I know that they sometimes have even, I think, ex-designer fabrics, but very good Italian fabrics. And I found this dark blue and many blue colors in general, floral print, which I really liked. And the moment I picked it up, back in the days, I had a darker greenish, bluish hair color. Everyone in the shop was like, "Oh my God, that fabric is meant to be for you." And so I could not resist and had to buy it. I mean, now my hair is a little bit lighter, but I would say it's the, it's the very good fit for my hair. And you have, this blue tones with a little bit of greenish blue and a pale pink with some orange and more saturated pinks, but the pinks are more muted or neutral. So it's a very busy print. You have a lot of things going on, so I did not want to have a lot of pattern pieces for the dress that would basically draw the eyes more to the style lines than to the pattern of the fabric itself. So this is the fabric that I wanted to use for the dress, and this was kindly bought by my partner for me. since I was hesitant to buy the fabric. I did not have a project in my mind when I saw the pattern, the fabric, and he said like, come on, it's such a beautiful fabric, you have to have it. So he kindly bought it for me and I'm very happy. So I wanted to have it also as a dress that is not completely special, but yeah, somewhat of a more special dress that I can wear on a daily basis, but also wear for special occasions. And this dress is now made for a special occasion since we have a wedding coming up later this week. And yeah, I wanted to have a nice dress that is not black and yeah, gives also maybe some late summer vibes and is also usable for other things, not just for this very formal gathering. Before I started drafting the pattern, I thought if I would start from zero or if I can actually go with one of the pattern blocks that I already drafted for other projects. And since I made the penny dress a while ago, I wore it here and there during the summertime, and I quite enjoyed the fit of the body and also the length of the dress. So I thought for a starting point it is maybe a good idea to go with the front and back part of the penny dress and start with that to draft then the pattern that eventually will become the dress pattern. In the beginning I traced the front, and to have only one back part I combined both of the back parts of the original penny dress into one. For the grown-on sleeve I just elongated shoulder seams and deepened the lower armhole seam so that I do have a little bit more movement for the grown-on sleeves. The first mock-up was not bad, but I noticed immediately that the arm movement was quite limited due to the grown-on sleeves. The second mock-up was made out of these two panels for the front and the middle part in the front, where I tried to attempt this this one inspiration picture to mimic. But when I tried on the mock-up, I did not like the look of it, since I think the initial pattern, the initial inspiration is very tight fitting, and my idea was to have it not so tight, more loose, more figure hugging. So I skipped that for the next iteration because I thought, yeah, it's not a style that I would like for this particular project. Another thing that I noticed immediately was in the front part of the armholes, it was too tight. So every time I moved my arms around, I could feel that it restricts me in my movement, and yeah, that's a feeling that I don't like. So I noted that down as well. And another thing that I saw, especially in the video, or in, I think I saw it more than in the video when I looked at it, that the placement of the darts is much too high for me. I did not notice that in the penny dress. But for the third iteration, I moved the side darts a little bit down by 2 to 3 centimeters, that it is more of the side of my bust and hugs it basically then nicer with the fabric. And I also changed for the third iteration the depth of the armhole, but yeah, both did not work out in the end, and I went back to my drafting table and had a thought of how I would go further with that project. For the front, I traced the center front and the neckline as a reference point, and then I used my original pattern to construct a bigger underbust dart. I did this by closing up the shoulder dart that was previously in my version the side dart. So all the fullness then went into the underbust dart. my original bodice block is shorter than the penny dress, so I made sure that I lengthened my new version to the length that I previously liked. I made sure that all the measurements of my underbust and waistline still adds up, because I'm always a little bit unsure if I added any inches or if I add any centimeters by accident when I move the darts, but everything was fine when I checked the length. I made another mock-up, and immediately when I put it on, I saw that I definitely liked the modifications that I did for the bodice part, and that it works very well with just one big dart in the underbust area, that I thought it's worth the time to now make all the other pieces as well and have one complete mock-up. So for the skirt part, I just used the modified version of the penny dress, so with no back and front seams, so everything is just one piece. I modified that the last time as well, so I thought I might just go ahead and basically save some time and use the skirt that I already drafted last time. I also checked on how I would sew the neckline with the facing and the ties. And of course the sleeves. So the sleeves were the last point where I was not 100% sure which direction I should go. In the first version, I did not take a picture from that. I tried a cap sleeve, but I don't know, I did not like it on me. Then I have what is now on the left side of the video, the sleeve that is the original sleeve that I drafted. I wanted it to be more full, fluttery, whatever kind of sleeve. But I noticed immediately that the sleeve stuck somehow out, like it would be too stiff. Yes, of course, I used this cotton fabric, which is a lot stiffer than the regular viscose fabric that I use. But I knew that it is not the fabric, but it is the sleeve cap. It's not high enough. You can see that with the hem of the sleeve should usually be parallel to the floor, which was not the case for me, so I knew I had to modify the sleeve cap and make it a little bit higher to fit basically my bigger arms, or shoulders, better to say. And I modified it, and the version on the right side that you see is basically the modification for the sleeve, where I gave more room into the sleeve head, and then everything was parallel to the floor, which was nice. And I felt confident enough on that point that I can go ahead and cut into my very precious fabric and do the full skirt, not the full skirt, but do the complete dress. First I sewed my darts for the front and the back panel and pressed them towards the middle before I attached the skirt and overlocked the edges. In all my versions I used a side zipper, which gave me plenty of room to get in and out of the dress, so I found that is the best option for the dress. Since I do not really like back zippers, I can't really get them in and out of the dress myself, or at least I found it harder, so I went with the side zipper. And since my fabric is very soft and light, I applied some seam tape to the side for the invisible zipper to give it more strength and structure, and to have more security when I use the zipper to get in and out. For the invisible zipper, I usually follow the instructions of the zipper foot for my machine, and it worked out quite well, even though I'm always very nervous when I sew it, since I don't know, I have a talent to sew the second zipper tape on the wrong side of the fabric, and this time I laid everything flat on my sewing table, and I definitely made sure that I sewed everything in the correct way. And when I tested the zipper, everything worked, it looked neat, and I made a little happy dance. With the hardest part out of the way, it felt just like sewing up some seams here and there. It was not so nerve-wracking anymore, and everything came together then quite fast. One thing that I changed while sewing was the neckline. In my mock-ups I had for the front part and the facing part a seam allowance of 1.5 centimeters or 5/8 of an inch. And I wanted the neckline to be just that little bit higher, so I opted for only 5 millimeter for the seam allowance, and then I checked with the side straps and attached them to sew the slit part of the neckline, where I used a 1.5 centimeter seam allowance. I think I made a mistake here while sewing this slit. I wanted it initially to be more pointy, so the slit area, but somehow I ended up with sharp edges as you would do for a bottom placket. I would say it's not very noticeable when I'm wearing it, since you are anyways tying your little straps up to this bow tie, and you don't see it. And if you don't wear the bow tie, it just opens quite nicely in this area. But it is not that noticeable, only I know it, and I think I can live with that. Facings are typically not my favorite finish for necklines, but I found it to be the best option for this dress, and I used it here. And to prevent the facing from rolling up, I understitched everything in place so that everything looks neat, and of course a ton of pressing. I did not film much of the sleeve process other than the gathering thread. First I pinned and gathered the sleeve, then basted everything in place and tried it on if I liked the sleeve or not. After I tried it on and found that everything sits as it should, I stitched it and overlocked it for both sides, of course. The last task was definitely the most tedious task, since hemming a skirt and sleeves is not the job that I enjoy the most when I'm sewing. Before I leveled the hem, I let the dress hang for around a day, just to make sure that everything is settled. After that I serged the edges, even though that I use a 2-turn hem, but I found it just a little bit better to have the security of knowing that the edges will definitely not fray. After serging the edges, I ironed the first turn over and stitched everything with a basting stitch, so that when I did the second turn that I can gather the edges just that little bit better for the hem curve. I will definitely put some videos of me wearing this dress on the day of the wedding, when we are maybe having a walk in a park or somewhere. But here's the end result, the finished dress, and I'm quite happy. This fabric is so soft and nice to wear. It's so soft against the skin. It really feels more like a cozy pajama. So I'm looking forward to wearing this dress in the next couple of days. One thing I want to do, I did not have the time now to do, is to give some hand stitching to the shoulder seam for the facing, so to secure the facing just that little bit more in the shoulder seam area. I like to do that when I have a facing. I might do the same with some invisible stitches here and there on the down part of the facing, so that it cannot really roll around. But I mean, if you're wearing it, it does not come loose or anything. But just to have that laying flat all the time very nicely. But this is a job that I can do easily here, and even on my way to the wedding in the train, to have just these little stitches that prevent any movement in the placket, not the placket, the facing. What I really like also is with the bow tie. I always wanted to have a dress with the bow tie. I mean, yes, as I said, it is more square in the front than I wanted it to be initially, more sharp. I don't mind. It is not really noticeable. The bow tie is covering it anyway, so you just get a hint of that slit. But it is quite elegant, I have to say, and yeah, I'm super happy. I need to give the hems definitely more pressing, because I don't know, every time you have a new garment out of the sewing machine, the hems, they need to be worn in. At least that is what I figured out, that the dresses usually tend to have this little bit of stiffness from being sewn up. I don't know, so it has to be worn in just that little bit more for the wedding. But yeah, I'm very happy for wearing this the next couple of days. Another thing is, I'm usually super impatient when it comes to sewing, and I had to really force myself not to, when you close up the seam where the invisible zipper is, to sew too close to the invisible zipper, rather than just hand stitching everything in place to give it this very neat and tidy finish. So yeah, I'm absolutely happy with that dress, how it came together. The only really hard part by the end was finding a bodice block or a bodice pattern that I like, that fits more or less in the style lines of the inspiration image that I had. And yeah, I'm super happy that I also not went with the more tight-fitting dress, especially now it will be 30 degrees or more on the days that we are out for the wedding, so it will be quite warm. Europe or Germany at least does not have a lot of air conditioning, fortunately, so I have to have a dress or garments in general that can handle the heat. And yeah, I'm happy that this is not super tight fitting, and I will definitely not die in this dress. So yeah, I'm super happy that I finally sewed up this beautiful fabric, and I think it still fits my hair very well. So I think there's nothing really much more to say about the dress. As I mentioned, I will definitely put up some images or videos of me wearing it, floating around in this dress. So yeah, I think that is it for me for today. I hope I could give you some inspirations and some motivation to draft the dress of your Pinterest board yourself, and maybe just by modifying existing patterns that you have, or by using your own bodice block to come up with a dress that you maybe adored for quite a while. I'm certainly happy that I finally sewed one or two of the inspiration images of my Pinterest board, and they are not just longer there to admire when I look at them, but rather having them now in my wardrobe and wearing them, and yeah, feeling quite elegant with these dresses on the many occasions that I can wear it now. If you have any questions about the dress, about pattern drafting, leave them in the comments down below, and I will see you in my next video. Happy crafting and take care. Bye bye.